Okay, I believe we have Vice President and Chief Strategy Officer, Bonita Brown. Welcome. Oh, we have somebody else.
Yes.
Familiar face.
Too. Good afternoon. My name is Bonita Brown, and I'm the Vice President and Chief Strategy Officer at Northern Kentucky University. President Vidia is traveling and could not be with us today, and somehow I was lucky enough to be selected to come here. I brought Shawn Rainey with me, again, our Executive Director of Planning and Institutional Research. So all data questions, I will be directing it to him, but we are glad to be here today. We all at Northern Kentucky have similar challenges that you've heard the other universities talk about, whether that be the facilities, the morale of our staff with the pension issue, or just funding. So we won't go into detail, but that is the backdrop that we are working through as we're working through this. We are happy that most of our data points are trending up. There are areas for improvement, of course, and we don't feel that they're good enough either. So President Vidia always challenges the campus to do more, to do better. And so that's why we got to our strategic plan, Success by Design, which you have a brochure at your desk, and I'll talk about a little bit later. So as we look at our rates, I want to start with the graduation rates. Over the last 2 years, we have seen an 8 percentage point increase in our overall graduation rates. While there's still room for a great deal of improvement on that, this is the highest rate we've achieved over the last 2 decades. Additionally, we anticipate that metric to continue to improve because these numbers are for the 2013 cohort, and we've seen the cohorts following this group. They have improvements in the metrics such as their second fall retention and 4-year graduation rates, which serves as good indicators that they will be more successful at the 6-year graduation rate. We've also seen similar growth in our URM and low-income graduation rates over the last 2 years. Early indicators also point towards future success in these metrics as we work towards our CPE goals. And we've been doing a lot on campus to address this. Again, there is no silver bullet. We wish there was. So we've been looking at our advising, making things mandatory for freshmen, looking at our mentoring programs, making them stronger. Micro grants have been really successful because a lot of students are struggling with that last $500, last $1,000. And so when we find that out, we can then support them in that way. So we're moving on to degrees. For bachelor's degrees and credentials awarded, we are not progressing as well as we would like. If you note that this is the lowest number we've conferred in over 6 years. But overall, our undergraduate population has been declining, which in turn has residual impact on the degrees that are awarded. Our URM bachelor's degree are trending up, and we can connect that to our continued growth and we have experienced in our URM enrollments over the last 5 to 6 years. We're also seeing some decline in our low-income enrolling student population. This shrinking base impacts the number of low-income degrees we can confer. And I also want to move on to enrollment. We are seeing declines in all populations of enrollments except for graduate numbers, which are increasing significantly because of our online programs. Being in the Northern Kentucky region, there are plenty of jobs there, and we're struggling to balancing to get our students to stay in school and get that degree versus going to work right now. And so we're constantly in that battle trying to show them the value of a degree. But as I mentioned, our undergraduate enrollments have been declining, and this was why we created the Success by Design. We're also developing a strategic enrollment management plan, and with that plan, we're looking at all of our key audiences, adult, online, and trying to find that right balance and right mix for Northern Kentucky and what the region needs. And so with these strategies, we're going to emerge a plan that's going to coordinate the work that can be done to support our numbers. The African-American undergraduate student decline can be also paired with the growth in enrollments of students who identify as 2 or more races. So we found that our students are identifying not just as Black or African-American, they're putting 2 or more, which is taken away from the numbers of African-American students. Students who identify 2 or more races have increased 24% over the last 3 years, and approximately 57% of those students have African-Americans as one of their identities. We're also seeing declines in the adult population. We're using our Success by Design to better align with the changing demographics of higher education and working towards providing greater access to adult students and greater support where they're needed. So again, they come in, but they still have their lives going on. So we're looking at stackable credentials, things that can help them get through even quicker. We're working on an adult student hub, which will be all the services for adults under one roof. So somewhere they can get advising, they can hang out in the weekends, somewhere they can ask about scheduling and financial aid information in one place so they don't have to run all around campus when they're there. We're also continuing to participate in CPE programs such as Project Graduate and Degrees When Due. We have grown tremendously in graduate enrollment. We are now the third largest graduate program behind UK and U of L. We have shown growth, and that also has in turn shown growth in graduate student diversity. This partnership with AP and the online delivery model appears to have widened access for larger groups of students. If you look at our numbers, those numbers in our online graduate have almost doubled. And so we're focusing on to see what other programs we can generate and add to that, because we see there's a demand and need for that in our region. This is serving to change our graduate student profile. In the last 5 years, we've more than doubled the number of URM students and moved the proportion from 10% to 15% URM in our graduates. So those are the numbers I want to highlight. That's the part of the story I can tell, and hopefully in your questions we can get to more of the numbers. But I want to switch to how we're addressing that, because that's where President Vidia, we're spending a lot of our attention on that. We formally launched our capital campaign, Further Faster, in May of 2019, and it's focused around student success. And we are more than two-thirds of the way there of our $75 million goal. The bulk of this is our LIFT scholarship program. And this is a scholarship program where, again, we fund the students their whole tuition, but it's not just funding, it's support as well. So they have responsibilities. They have to check in with people. They have to go to programming. We build that support because we know high touch increases their chances of graduating. Also, to boost enrollment and to serve a growing population of diverse learners, we are reimagining our partnerships with K-12 and community colleges. So that's River City Schools and Cincinnati Public Schools. As one of the other presidents mentioned, we were shocked at the number of students we were not getting from Cincinnati Public Schools. And between Gateway and Cincinnati State, we had articulation agreements, but they were not fully maximized. And so again, we're kind of breathing new life into those partnerships to get more students there. Over the past 2 months, we've had the leadership teams of all of those colleges on our campus to talk about what that could look like. So there's a new energy now thinking about how we can reimagine this work to increase those numbers. And we're also looking at international partnerships as well. President Vidia took a trip overseas and signed several agreements, and we think we're going to get some students between those agreements as well. And all of this leads to the reason why my position was created. President Vidia understands that student success work involves changing a mindset on campus. And so we kind of needed a single person, singularly focused on helping the campus change that mindset. It's a tall order, and it's been very interesting thus far. So I think he talked about our success by design before, but really that our strategic plan with that sole focus on student success makes it easier for us to work with the campus because they don't feel like they're being pulled in a lot of directions. Everything we do is about student success. So we have 3 pillars: access, completion, and career and community engagement. So when that came about, the president shopped this around campus. In there, you'll see a lot of the strategies or initiatives that were thought of. We had over 52. We had to calm the campus, and we're not going to do all 52. Calm down. We're going to scale it down. And we actually were able to narrow it down to 5. We're starting with the first 5 initiatives. That's what we call it. And we tell the campus if there's a first 5, there's likely going to be a second 5. But right now, we're focusing on the first 5. And so the first 5 are reimagining the use of institutional aid and looking at our cost. So that's our affordability. So what can we do that's unique, innovative, that will help our students most? And so we have a team that's working on that. The second is strengthening the pipeline and access. What are artificial barriers that maybe we can remove? What populations do we need to target? How can we work on access? And then coordinated care. Again, once students are here, what do they need? And what supports can we provide to make sure that they are successful? Aligning pathways and co-curricular experiences. Again, that's the making sure they have a co-curricular experience in their degree program, whether it's an internship, a job, travel abroad. We're trying to make sure, like the other university, that all of our students have that touch point. And then catalyzing economic development and partnerships in the region. We're in a very growth industry region. And so we need to capitalize that, if not be in the center of that, but we need to do that to the benefit of our students. And so we're working with corporations, what kind of jobs, scholarships, internships can they provide? So we really believe the region can help us help our students graduate. So to kind of spur innovation around this, President Vidia set aside $2 million to support these implementation teams. And so they are right now brainstorming ideas and innovative ideas around each one of these ideas, and they can secure some of this funding to help implement so we can really get things moving. Out of that $2 million, we also set $500,000 aside to spur innovation around student success across the entire campus. Just last week, we held a 2020 NKU Innovation Challenge, and you have that brochure as well. We opened the proposals to campus so that any faculty or staff on campus could submit a student success idea to try to get part of that $500,000. When we opened the process, we thought we might receive 50, maybe 60 proposals. We received 133. And so we had to narrow that 133 down to 15 who literally pitched their idea like a Shark Tank competition. It was really exciting. We had an expert panel of judges. We're now tabulating the scores to see who's going to win. Those people will receive their funding and they can begin working immediately. And again, we think that's necessary because the support of students can't happen without the campus understanding why and how. And so that's really where we're focusing. We're trying hard to get the entire campus to think differently about their work, to be innovative with student success as the ultimate goal. And we think the result of this work, we're going to see even more improvements in these numbers you have in front of you in the upcoming years. And with that, we'll be glad to take any questions you have. Yes.
No question. So how many students do you all currently have that are doing co-op, the travel abroad, internships? What percent do you have now, and what's your final goal?
Do you know the percent?
I'm not sure what the exact percent. I'm not sure what the exact percentage is. We can get back with you and share that. It depends kind of which program you're in, but we're looking to expand that to give that opportunity to all students at their undergraduate experience, some kind of co-op internship, some kind of co-curricular experience as part of Pillar 3.
And again, some departments are challenged because they think they have to have a lot of funding to do that. Mm-hmm. So we're trying to catalog what are some innovative ways, funding support to get this into every program. So that's what we're working on with our Success by Design.
Richard?
Yeah, thank you for your report. I applaud you and the university for the increase in the 6-year graduation rate. It looks like over the last 3 to 4 years, about 10%, which is great. What have you been doing to increase that? You may have touched on it, but every year it's increasing. And I've got another question after that.
I think what we've been doing, again, are just those individual, we're following the data to see where the problems are. Once we see where the problems are, we try to implement a strategy to work along with that. And so, again, when our numbers dipped a little while back, and I think it kind of shocked the campus, and so they kind of got back into the mode of we have to support all of our students. We have to make sure we support them all the way through the graduation rate. So again, microgrants and scholarships. The faculty now are alerting the rest of the campus when students are having problems. So everyone is jumping in and making sure we're wrapping our arms around these students.
We've also been doing things like looking at our advising models. What is the content of those meetings? How are we helping students matriculate through the programs? Trying to be more robust in how we use data analytics. How do we pinpoint the at-risk students? How do we target to try to help those students maintain enrollments?
Very good. And my follow-up question is I'm not sure when the 2021 target was made. Maybe this was made 5 years ago, but why is that lower than where you are right now? 2018 or 2018?
It was made at the beginning of the plan, and so we've exceeded where we thought we might be 5 years ago. And even last year when there was a possible recalibration, we were still under the target at that point. And so we've exceeded where we thought we might be, and it's because of all the things we put in. Difficulty with the 6-year graduation rate is that's an accrual of things that we started 4 or 5 years ago that are now starting to yield results. And so we're ahead of where we thought we might be.
Very good.
And it's also, I have to remember this, it's also important to point out that rates, retention rates, graduation rates, always go like this. And what you hope is it goes like this and up. So it's really hard to predict some of those next season. Not that it's going to happen to you guys, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was down again, right? Because that's the way it happens when you're doing cohort sort of calculations on rates.
When you talk about changing the mindset on campus, and obviously it's challenging, can you give us a little more color around what the shift is?
Well, the shift is, so departments collaborating together. So there literally can be turf battles on if a student has this problem, I do this, no, I do that. or this department will take this and run it all the way to the end and not check in with the other department. I think when we talk about math numbers, the math departments, we need to do this co-requisite. Well, they're maybe not be as fond about that. So it's just those kind of shifts. And just because you're in a department doesn't mean you can't collaborate and work with others. And again, if a student comes to you with a problem, don't just give them a message and send them off, walk them across or connect them with a person. So adding that personal touch and getting everyone on campus to understand that that's their role, that's the hard part. They love their jobs and they do their jobs well, but getting to expand that parameter is what's a little challenging. That's a culture shift.
On your undergraduate enrollment numbers, how much of that are online students included in that fall of 2019?
They are. The online component hasn't grown as much as the graduate program. Only about 7% of our undergraduate enrollments are online, whereas about 65% of our graduate program enrollees are online.
What was the undergraduate number?
About 7%.
7, okay.
Yes.
What are you all doing in terms of the success of underprepared students in the gateway courses? Because particularly in math, your number is quite low. And what kind of things have you all been putting in place to try to, and what percentage of students that you admit?
Sure. About 1 out of 10 students come in underprepared in English, and about 1 out of 6 students come in underprepared in math. One of the challenges that we've had with the math component is those students aren't sticking around. Less than a third so only about half of the students get to even attempt a college level math course. Now, those that attempt it, 60 to 70% of those pass the course successfully. The challenge is just getting students to stick around long enough to be able to attempt that college level course for us on our campus. On our campus, of those students that don't attempt the college math, less than a third of them make it to their second fall. And so it's kind of a dual phase of college preparedness, but also retention and engaging those students and getting them to be successfully matriculating from one term to the next. And we're very excited about the co-rec program. When we piloted that on our campus, we had success rates of students between 70 and 80%, maybe even a little higher than 80%. And so we're very excited about what that full implementation looks like this fall for these students. Because math remediation is kind of a two-phase. Students may need more than one course to try to complete the remediation. So the ability to kind of have them come in and enter into a co-rec program immediately, earn college credit, be pulled out for supplemental instruction or kind of just-in-time training or remediation. We're very excited about what the outcomes could be for that and for these students.
And actually in the innovation competition, we had a couple of projects that were around math. One of them that was particularly exciting was called Restart. So after the first test in the class, if the students were failing, the plan was to pull those students out, put them in a different section at the same time so as to not adjust their schedule. But then that class of those students would get that much more attention in math. So it's those kind of innovative strategies we're trying to surface that's going to help us with the math and the English.
Thank you.
Just to follow up on that question, I know every university is grappling with the same problem. U of L has the outreach department that goes in and sort of has the bridge program. UK has something similar. So are universities collaborating with one another? This is a problem across the Commonwealth. So what are we doing across the different universities so there's some kind of standard way to address this problem? Because I know the populations are a little different, but the problem fundamentally is the same thing that everybody's trying to address. So instead of a lot of resources from each university spending time and effort and dollars on trying to remediate this problem, do we have a statewide opportunity to go in and do something that all universities can take? Maybe it's not a question directly to you, but question is, are you collaborating with anybody else, and maybe more for us as a group to think about what we need to do differently? Because it's clearly a problem in there's so many great numbers and some of the other metrics, but this one is a big problem across the board.
Yeah, I don't know about the rest of the state, but I already sent an email that we need to reach out to the University of Louisville to figure out what that program is. Yeah. So we're going to follow up on that to figure that out.
And to answer your question more specifically and to give compliments to these folks here, and I'll be straightforward. When we initiated and we did it at a university-wide and community college-wide effort on looking at the co-requisite model, moving from developmental education, We made it a blanket rule that we would no longer have it. And we did have pushback from certain math folk. I'll just leave it there, just to let you know, with the belief that the way they were doing it was the best way, but we were not seeing success. Tremendously, we were not seeing success. So when we did this, we still had some pushback, and we've been working together as a group to help many of those math faculty understand the value of doing this. And so we're now seeing great success for those who implemented it earlier than other folk, and we believe that we'll get great success here. The second thing I will say, not in a pejorative way, but in the past, NKU focused on a lot of things, did a lot of things great. When President Vadea came into office, he says, we're going to have to do something around student success. And he was absolutely correct across the board. So what you've done with your advising center, what you're doing in these other areas truly is commendable, because you were doing so many things really well. This was an area where we were probably not putting our best foot forward at NKU's campus. And now we're seeing that. So Melissa Bell and her crew works with the entire group of folk to ensure that we do have a statewide effort, and even giving grants to help people do those things. You all received a couple, I think, to make some of these things happen.
Other questions? Thank you all. We appreciate you being here.